Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Sam Spiegelman from Rivals going to be with us in 15 minutes. We haven't checked in on recruiting in a couple of weeks, so we'll do that. It's a bit of a quieter time. It was a fever pitch in June. It slowed down a little bit in the month of July, but we'll talk to Sam about some of the bigger names on the board coming up in 15 minutes. It's What If Wednesday. If you're listening, want to throw us a what if, hit us on the text line, 225-499-1045 with your what ifs. Can be sports related, can be anything related. We'll get to that coming up in 30 minutes. Jeff Goodman keeps talking about LSU, not in the most positive light. We'll discuss that to a degree. Our in-depth chart series has reached quarterback today. We'll discuss Sam Leavitt and the entirety of the quarterback room coming up at 2 o'clock. And CBS Sports ranked every single NFL team by their quarterback, top receiver, and top running back. Where do the Saints come in? We'll do that in hour number 2. So plenty to get to. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
All right, let's crank things up with the news of the day that came out officially from LSU, and some great news for a Tiger legend. Bert Jones will have his jersey retired coming up in November when Texas visits Tiger Stadium. Of course, Bert Jones, one of the great players in the history of the program. He was with the Tigers from 1969 to 1971. He started for a couple of seasons in 70 and 71. With Bert Jones under center, LSU was 26-6-1. He led them to the 1970 SEC title. When he left LSU, he held the records for passing yards, touchdown passes, attempts, and completions. He finished fourth in the Heisman Trophy voting in 1971. He was the second overall pick of the NFL draft of the Baltimore Colts, and eventually would go on to win the 1976 NFL Most Valuable Player Award, the Ruston Rifle. One of the great ones in the history of LSU football. Like, I am not going to sit here as someone who was born in 1988 and tell you stories about Bert Jones playing quarterback at LSU. I don't have any memories of Bert Jones playing quarterback at LSU. What I can tell you is that LSU, for whatever reason, good, bad, indifferent, for whatever reason, LSU was hesitant for decades to retire numbers, retire jerseys. Billy Cannon's number was immediately retired in 1959. And from 1959 to 2009, that's 50 years. Only Billy Cannon's number was retired at LSU. He was the only Heisman Trophy winner. That was LSU's only national title. So, okay, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But somewhere along the line, after the turn of the century, there was a decision made, hey, we're gonna look at some of these legends from the purple and gold, and we're gonna put some more numbers on the facade at Tiger Stadium. And Tommy Casanovas, the only three-time All-American in school history, went up in 2009. Jerry Stovall went up in 2018. Last year, Alexander the Great, Charles Alexander's number and name, went up on the facade in the south end zone, and Bert Jones will go in this year. So 50 years, one number. And then over the course of the last 17, there will be 4. And I think it's a good thing. For those that look at that and go, well, they're going to run out of numbers. No, they're not. Billy Cannon's 20 is the only number that's not worn. Clearly, Bert Jones' 7 has been worn and will be worn. It's given out as an honor in the LSU football program. 21 has been worn. Jerry Stovall's number. Charles Alexander's number 4 has been worn. Mansour Delane wore it last year. You're going to see it worn this year. The only number that's not being worn right now, other than 20, is 9. I went back and checked. Nobody's worn 9 since 2020, and that's clearly been communicated. That day will come when Joe Burrow gets his number retired, and I believe Jaden Daniels will and should come right after that. You win the Heisman Trophy We don't need to wear your number anymore. LSU will not run out of numbers if they retire all the Heisman Trophy winner numbers. But the jerseys mean people can still wear the numbers. And they do for all these. So I think it's a good thing to honor legends of the game. And I think it's great to do it, while they're still here. Bert Jones played here a long time ago. 1971. It's been a minute. And so, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you about Bert Jones stories from when he was a quarterback. What I can tell you is that I've gotten to meet Bert Jones on a number of occasions here in Baton Rouge. I've interviewed him in some settings with the Alumni Association. I did a radio show from his golf tournament that he's held annually here to raise money for cystic fibrosis. He's been an amazing champion for that disease. He is a carrier of that gene. He's got family members affected. He himself does not have CF, but he's a carrier for that gene. And so he's spent a lot of time and raised a ton of money for CF. And that's something that I've been involved in at different times over the years. And he's just been nothing but a wonderful guy. He tells a lot of stories that aren't about football. He loves the outdoors. He loves hunting. And he'll talk about LSU football and the 1 second on the clock against Ole Miss and some of the great stories from those days and Coach McClendon and all that. But I just enjoyed my experience with Bert Jones is just the guy and the philanthropist. It's not the Ruston Rifle. I didn't see that. My dad did. A lot of you driving around did, but a lot of you driving around didn't. I just think more so than my commentary on whether or not Bert Jones is deserving, which based on the accolades I read off to you at the beginning of the segment, I think he very much is. I think it's great that LSU is honoring the greatest players that have ever played here. And you're not taking numbers away from people. The guys are still wearing these numbers, but those guys that were great players deserve to have their numbers put up on the facade. So once Bert Jones goes in November, you'll see Billy Cannon, Tommy Casanova, Jerry Stovall, Charles Alexander, and Bert Jones up there on the facade of the South End Zone. And I believe, as I just said, you'll see Joe Burrow as well as Jaden Daniels because those are Heisman Trophy winners. I also think there are some more names that absolutely should be considered. And now that we've kind of opened, I don't want to call it the floodgates because that's got a negative connotation where you're just like letting anybody and everybody do anything they want. But you've opened the opportunity. You're creating that discussion, and I think it's awesome. And I think that there are more guys who need their name and number recognized. Kevin Falk, all eyes on 3, left LSU as the SEC's all-time leader in all-purpose yards and touchdowns. Came to LSU at a time where no one was coming in state. They were all fleeing the state to go elsewhere. Like Warwick Dunn from right down the road here was leaving to go to Florida State. And you know all the names that were leaving LSU. And Jerry DiNardo got Kevin Falk to come to LSU. And no, they didn't win a national championship, but they certainly elevated the program so that when Nick Saban took over and was able to keep Marcus Spears here, was able to keep Michael Clayton here, was able to keep those great Louisiana players in state, and eventually the golden age of LSU football was ushered in. But Kevin Falk was a huge part of elevating the program. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That was a big deal back then. Beat number 1 in the nation for the first time ever. Set SEC records. Like Kevin Falk's name should and will be on the South End Zone facade in Tucker Stadium. He's a college football Hall of Famer. I feel the exact same way about Glenn Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey was a 2-time All-American, a unanimous All-American in 2007. He won the Nagurski Award, he won the Lombardi Award, he won the Outland Award, he won the Lott Award, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and oh, by the way, national champion. Now, it's a team award, but he was part of a national championship here and won every award you can win. So to me, like, that's one where you could convince me they should retire his number, that no one should wear 72 again. Like, I wouldn't think that was above and beyond at all, because that's as good and accomplished a defensive career as you can have in college football. They don't give the Heisman Trophy to defensive players. Charles Woodson got it, and that'll be probably the last one, and no one thinks he should have won it. He went out there and caught a few passes, and there you go. But Glenn Dorsey absolutely deserves that honor. And there are others that I think you could absolutely make that case for, and one that I did on LouisianaSports.net, and it's not someone I saw play, but you look at the accomplishments, and I think it's probably a better discussion for those of you that did see him play. For those of you that were around at that time, all I can do is look at the record books, and I don't feel convicted in saying this, but I think it's absolutely worth a discussion. Like, Wendell Davis had a brilliant run at LSU. LSU hadn't won an SEC title in 15 years. He and Tommy Hodson and a great team go out there in 86, win the SEC, And that year, Davis set the single-season record at LSU for catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He set the record for catches in a game with 14. He was a two-time All-American, including consensus honors in 1987. Like, there aren't that many guys who have been two-time All-Americans and consensus All-Americans. And Wendell Davis is one of those. There have only been 10 guys in school history to be named All-Americans in multiple seasons. Wendell Davis is one of those. So again, I'm not like completely convicted in that, but I think it's worth a discussion. His numbers have been overshadowed by Josh Reed and by Dwayne Bowe and by Jamar Chase and by Malik Neighbors. And in a different era of football, those guys have passed his numbers significantly. But that's a guy that I would take a look at. I'm not trying to make the entire stadium lined with numbers. This doesn't have to be Yankee Stadium's Monument Park. I'm not clamoring for that, but I do think that it's good to acknowledge the greats in your program's history, and there's not really any harm done. I don't think you've devalued having your name on the facade by putting Bert Jones up there. I don't think you would devalue anybody's accomplishment by putting Kevin Falk or Glenn Dorsey up there. I think there are times where I look at Hall of Fames, whether it's the Basketball Hall of Fame or the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I go, is that really? I don't feel that when I talk about these guys. I think that this is a really, really good thing. So again, today's not a day where I can come in here personally and tell you about my stories of Bert Jones playing and how awesome he was. But I think it's a great thing for LSU to recognize its history, and I know that it means a lot to the folks that they have honored. We got a chance to talk to Charles Alexander last year on the weekend that his number went up, and it just meant so much to him years and years later. Bert Jones loves LSU and spends time in Baton Rouge and comes back to games, and it'll no doubt mean a lot to him, and we'll hear from him in the months to come before his name goes up in the rafters. And it's just it's a great thing. And I know that a lot of us, myself very much included, look forward to the day that Joe Burrow can be on that field and watch his number go up there, because that year is so memorable, means so much to so many people, and that the same thing can be said for Jaden Daniels as well. And there are people that probably feel that way, that are in their 60s and 70s, that feel that way about Bert Jones. And I think that's awesome. So great day for LSU, great day for Bert Jones, and certainly worthwhile of leading the show with. If you missed this earlier today, LSU announced Bert Jones will have his jersey 7 retired in the south end zone facade over there at LSU when Texas visits Tiger Stadium in November. We're off and running here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. When we come back, let's check in on some guys that we hope have their jersey retired at LSU. They're in high school still. We'll talk some recruiting with Sam Spiegelman when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com, swingeasygcbr.com. Stop on by. They're playing the Open Championship this weekend. You want to play where some of the Open Championships have played? St. Andrews, you can do it. Carnoustie, you can do it. They're at Royal Birkdale this week. You want to play that? You can on the simulator at Swing Easy Golf Club. So go on by. They've got cold beers and seltzers in there. They got music. You can get your private bay, bring a team, and y'all sit comfortable chairs, compete against yourselves, take unlimited mulligans, card a score, whatever you want to do on that golf simulator. Just have some fun, independent of the weather conditions, which can be not great around here this time of year, especially with the heat and the rain that we get. Swing Easy is a great chance to play a little golf without having to deal with all of that. Go see them. Segan at Perkins. They're online at swingeasygcbr.com. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Chugging along here on this Wednesday, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. We got What If Wednesday coming your way in 15 minutes. If you've got a what if for us, hit us up via text. Just a simple text, 225-499-1045. Couldn't be any easier. 225-499-1045. Shoot us a what if. Can be sports related. Can be anything related. Just hit us up. We'll get to those coming up in 15 minutes. There's a lot of what ifs in the recruiting world. Let's talk about some of that with the rivals of Sam Spiegelman. Good enough to give us some time on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sam, how we doing?
I can't complain, Hunt. How you doing?
Doing quite well. Obviously, late May and June were kind of a fever dream. A ton of camps, Elite 11 stuff, official visits, a lot of commitments, a lot of flips, a lot of things going on. Safe to say at this point, things have settled down and we're waiting to get into college camps and high school camps at this point, and there aren't not a lot of activity in the recruiting world.
Yeah, at this point, the 2027 class, as you are well aware of, is all but has a pin stuck in it. There are a few lingering prospects, a few uncommitted, that will have some domino effects on some of the other potential flips that may or may not occur. But to be perfectly honest, this is probably the stretch run for this 2027 class. These colleges, at least the top programs in the country, like the LSU Tigers, are beginning to shift their focus onto the upcoming season. If you're Lane Kiffin, you're focusing on making a splash in your first season, making LSU a contender yet again. And with that, the recruiting personnel, the front office is working on retaining the actual roster, finding what they need in the portal for next, the next upcoming portal opening. And, of course, shifting their focus to 2028 and beyond.
So let's talk about three guys that are committed. They're huge names that everybody wants to hear about at this point. And we'll start with LSU, with Ahmad Hudson. I know he's out at Peach Jam right now getting some buckets. Everyone that I've talked to that's an LSU fan feels pretty good about that. I would figure with good reason. You figure there's any drama remaining with Ahmad Hudson?
I'm all squeezed out of the Ahmad Hudson drama.
Yeah.
I think that listen, he has spoken candidly to rivals, to myself. He is not he like a few other prospects around the country, their recruitment is shut down, though it may not be officially or public. Their recruitment is all but done. He didn't accidentally commit to the Tigers in May ahead of his official visits. He has been an LSU lean for the majority of his recruitment, except for one 2 or 3 month stretch, which happened to coincide with the transition from Brian Kelly to Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge. And as I mentioned on the show last time, it remains to be the fact. Lane Kiffin, the offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr., Joe Cox, his position coach, J.R. Belton, who was the first to offer him after his first varsity start at Ruston almost 4 years ago, are all fabrics of Ahmad's recruitment. His dad, of course, is an former LSU basketball player. He's a high school coach in the state. They have had fantastic meetings with Kiffin, with Weiss, with Cox, with the front office on the football side, and also Will Wade since he arrived in town. Nebraska is not going to stop recruiting him. They have a fantastic basketball program, and Matt Rule is one of the best head coach recruiters in the country. So, yes, they are going to continue to swing away until Ahmad Hudson signs on the dotted line. But I would be shocked, Hunt, if he makes it back to Lincoln for a game during the season while he's committed, while he's trying to get Ruston back to the Superdome for another year in a row to end his high school run with another state championship in football and then shift to hoops. Nebraska won't stop recruiting him, but I'm not sure it's going to get them too far in the long run.
That's about as emphatic as you can be at that point. One of the jokes I make about recruiting is that at times I get tired of people commenting on what shirt somebody's wearing or what shirt somebody's girlfriend's wearing on an Instagram picture or whatever. But it feels like a lot of people pay attention to when Jalen Brewster puts an LSU shirt on here or there. What can you suggest about where his recruitment is and kind of maybe as a timeline you see for him? I know he is committed to Texas Tech, but like, what's your read there?
Yeah, I'm with you. Everyone wants to read into every single detail or social media post, especially with Jalen Brewster, because at this point, after taking, I believe it was 5 official visits, he has not been openly speaking to too many people about the state of his recruitment. But listen, after, again, he made his way to see the national champions, Indiana. He went in-state to SMU in Texas. Schools like A&M and Ohio State have been recruiting him. Florida made a serious run in this recruitment. As of July 15th, this is a 2-team race. He committed to Texas Tech in the middle of his junior season. He plays for Cedar Hill High School, where Joey McGuire won 3 state titles. And probably his dad's best friend is Joey McGuire at this stage in the game. With that being said, LSU has not gone anywhere in this recruitment, actually much of the converse. They have continued to surge since getting him on campus May 29th weekend for his first summer official visit. His relationship with Kevin Peoples has only expounded. LSU continues to swing away. They are being aggressive on the NIL front with people like Peoples and, of course, Ed Orgeron recruiting him and his dad. They have Jalen Brewster's attention. Whether that means that a flip is going to happen, Hunt, that's up to things beyond my power. But I can tell you that the only team left standing in this race besides the Red Raiders are these Tigers. There are people who believe that Brewster does want to play in Baton Rouge. Whether he can get his entire team on that same page, that remains to be seen. He was expected, according to some in the know, to have potentially make a decision or shut things down even as early as last week. Obviously, none of that transpired, and I believe the longer this goes, it works to LSU's advantage. Of course, in addition to being aggressive on the NIL front, there's probably not too many universities better than LSU in terms of branding of elite athletes. Jalen Brewster is the number one player in the country. He is not accidentally wearing those purple and gold shirts to all of his workouts this summer as he rehabs from his shoulder surgery. There is certainly some smoke behind this fire. Whether it gets over the line for a flip, that remains to be seen going into his senior season. Sam
Spiegelman's our guest. He's with the folks over at Rivals looking for recruiting coverage. It's a great place to start. Team over at the Bengal Tiger on 3 does a great job. Easton Royal is next on this list. I get the sense he kind of likes this process. What do you gather from him?
It's funny you start there because there's a lot of coaches and people, decision makers between Texas and LSU that also believe that Easton Royal really likes this recruiting process, and it's continuing potentially longer than anticipated. And Hunt, to be honest with you, we spoke offline before this started. This is a recruitment that I believe we would have a verdict for almost at this point in the calendar, and I'm not ruling out any sort of final decision before the end of this month. But there are people who are in Easton's camp who think that this process could extend into September, potentially longer. But I will say the longer this recruitment goes on, the longer it's going to favor the Texas Longhorns. I think as of today, Easton Royal still wants to be a Texas Longhorn, but LSU has Florida, I believe, is on the outside looking in, and this is a two-team race between Texas and LSU. And, of course, Texas has played with a lead in this recruitment for the last 8 months since he committed to Steve Sarkisian. Lane Kiffin has been in contact with Royal and his mother. The front office members, coaching staff have been in touch with Easton Royal as of this week. The dialogue continues. There are some who believe he will end up in the purple and gold if he is to flip at some point this month, but Texas remains in a really good spot. They have not thrown in the towel on this race. One catalyst we might just see this week is the number 2 receiver in the country, Moonshun Sales, is going to come off the board in 2 days. If he picks Texas, which is one of the 2 leaders for Sales, along with Indiana, his hometown school, that could be a catalyst if Easton doesn't want to be in the same class as Sales and in Texas, if he wants to start carving his own path in his home state. There is no doubt that there is a lot of pressure and influence that suggests that Royal wants to be a Tiger. They're still, at this point, this flip is not imminent. These schools are still recruiting him, and his family is still not confirmed on one decision or the next.
So that's kind of hitting the high notes. My question to you would be, let's play a hypothetical. That's kind of what recruiting is at times. If Easton Royal sticks with Texas, we know that Elijah Haven is committed to Alabama, and we know that Albert Simeon is committed to Notre Dame. By the Rivals rankings, that's 3 of the top 4 players in the state, and we kind of think that Lane Kiffin took this job with some eyes on that in-state talent that you have a great advantage in getting. How big a problem would it be if they miss out on 3 of the top 4 players in the state of Louisiana in his first full cycle?
Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's not a great look. Albert Simeon is a prospect that I think LSU could have recruited better and could have had in this class. With Easton Royal, of course, similar deal, especially with Lane Kiffin being an offensive-minded head coach. To see him sign with an SEC rival, at a bordering state would be a tough blow. But at the same time, we are in a different era of college football, and while the outside image of losing on 3 of the top 4 prospects in the state hurts, we are in an era where if they want the best offensive lineman in the country, I don't know, maybe like someone like Jordan Seaton's stature, they're going to go out and use whatever money that they had put away for Albert Simeon to get the best interior offensive lineman they can find in the portal who can come in and play right away. The same goes for Easton Royal. LSU would love to have Easton Royal in this class, and LSU is prepared, I believe, to make the most significant NIL offer of any of the 3 schools that are still standing in his recruitment. I'm talking, including Texas, in that conversation. I believe LSU would pay more to have Royal as a part of this class. So if he elects to stick with the Longhorns, which is certainly a possibility at this point, LSU is going to be extremely aggressive, and they are going to get the number 1 receiver in the transfer portal when it opens up. They have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G already in their minds to find out. Again, they would love to have Easton Royal, the number 1 player at the position from New Orleans, in their class. But if he wants to stick with Texas, which, again, has recruited him very well over the past 8+ months, they are going to get a 5-star caliber receiver that's going to come in and shake up their wide receiver room for next spring. I guarantee it.
He is Sam Spiegelman, national recruiting analyst with the folks over at Rivals. If you're looking for your recruiting coverage, look no further. And they do an awesome job over there. Shay Dixon and the 0-3 team over there at the Bengal Tiger. Great work as well. Sam, we appreciate it.
Anytime, Hunt. Have a good one.
You too. He is Sam Spiegelman. Look, that's kind of the overarching theme of this deal is like, you want to get Easton Royal. You want him in your program for 3 years. That's the Jamar Chase guy. That's the Odell Beckham guy. That's the Jarvis Landry guy. That's the Michael Clayton guy. That's the Malik Neighbors guy. That's the Louisiana kid who comes in and plays great football for 3 years here. It's like it always was. But the fact of the matter is that you can also go get Jace Brown and Trey Williams and Trey Wilson and Jackson Holiday and Winnie Watkins, and you just go fill the shelves that way. That's the way he was doing at Ole Miss. And we kind of think there's a differentiator here with the dirt, and that you can do it Louisiana way. That's what I'm wrestling with back and forth. Like, how big a deal is it if you miss out on the 3 of the top 4 guys in your state? I don't have the answer to that set in stone, and Sam kind of doesn't either. It's like, it's good if you get them, but if you don't, just who do you replace them with? You couldn't do that previously. You were missing out on Landon Collins, and then you'd go get Corey Thompson from Houston, and one guy's an All-American and an early round pick, and the other guy's a league average safety. It's just, you can fill that need in the transfer portal if you swing and miss. You don't want to swing and miss, but it's going to happen from time to time. It's an interesting time to study roster composition. There's no question about that, and we appreciate Sam giving us some help on all of that. Send us a text, 225-499-1045. Give us your what ifs. What If Wednesday is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Renaissance Homes and Pools. It's online at builtbyrenaissance.com. That's builtbyrenaissance.com. I always give you my guy Joey Blanchard's number every single time I do this read, because he's the owner of the company, and he's the guy you'll talk to when you deal with Renaissance Homes and Pools, a local pool builder, local outdoor kitchen builder. 225-252-7745. Again, it's in the 225 area code. 252-7745. That's Joey Blanchard. And I always talk about the new pools, and they can build you a new pool, but they can also give your pool a fresh look. If you've had your pool for 10 or 15 years and you want to do a remodel, they can do it. They can come in and they can remove the old plaster, reinstall the new. They don't even have to remove the waterline tile, but it might be a good time to do that. You can put some new features in, like adding automation to control pumps, maybe a heater, heaters, lights, valves. You can revitalize your pool if it's a decade old with my friends at Renaissance Homes and Pools. So if you want a new pool, Renaissance Homes and Pools. You want to revitalize a decade old pool? Renaissance Homes and Pools are online at builtbyrenaissance.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Roads Electrical Services brings you our Wednesday shows. Tuesday shows, Thursday shows, Friday shows, and Monday shows too. Every day, Boudreaux's Electrical. Reach out to Neil and Melissa. They've been running the show for 40 years. They know the needs of those in South Louisiana when it comes to that Generac home standby generator. They send out a local representative. They survey your situation. You tell them how you want the generator to respond. Because some generators don't power the whole house. Some are whole house generators. Some you're just trying to keep some appliances on. You want to keep the house cool. You want to make the fridge run. Need that television go. Like, you get to pick kind of how much voltage you want put into that house when the power goes down. And then they get you a quote for it. You get a local team that comes out and installs that generator. And then beyond the installation, you've got a local contact here in South Louisiana that can come out to do maintenance if that's necessary on your Generac home standby generator, so that when it is time for that generator to spring into action, it's ready to go. That's so important, because the last thing you want is to spend good money on a generator, then have an equipment issue that you're not aware of, and now who do I call to fix this? That'll never happen to you if you go with Boudreaux's Electrical Services. That's the difference. It's a local company. You can go with the big box store. Will you ever hear from them again? I'm not sure about that. You will if you call the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical, and you can do so at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. All right, chugging along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Still a lot to get to. We got an in-depth chart look at quarterback. We'll talk about Sam Leavitt coming up at 2 o'clock. We'll also talk about his backups, Landon Clark and Husan Longstreak. And we'll also go into an NFL ranking from CBS Sports on the triplets for every single team, meaning the quarterback, the running back, and the wide receiver. Where do the Saints rank in that list? We'll do that coming up in about 35 minutes or so. Right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, so what if you could pick an SEC coach for a one-on-one next week?
Okay, I will do that in real life, not a truth serum one. Like, who do I think would be good to sit down with and chat one-on-one? There are a couple names percolating in my head. I find Mike Elko to be a good question answerer in his press conferences.
Okay.
I think that would be interesting. Drinkwitz is the quote-unquote chillest dude. He would sit down and probably cross his legs and shoot the breeze a little bit. Those two are coming to mind first. I wouldn't mind Pete Golding, but there's no shot in the dark that the Ole Miss SID would sit Pete Golding down on the Baton Rouge channel. So that's completely out of the question.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the rest, I don't have a ton of interest in talking to. Sark's a celebrity. Like, he's a big personality in the sport, so I would take that opportunity for sure.
Okay.
But I think pinned down, I think I would go with Elko. I think I would ask him about last year's game. I think I would ask him about the fact that he hired an offensive coordinator from within that has never called plays. I think I would ask him about Marcel Reed's development. I think I would ask him about why A&M hasn't won to the level that most schools with their resources have at some point. At some point, everybody else with 100,000 seats and $1 bajillion in a rich recruiting area has gotten somewhere important.
Yeah.
And I think I would ask him in a very tactful way, like, why? Because he's been there as a coordinator and as a head coach for a number of years now. I think he's been 5 years at A&M, so that's not a small sample size.
Oh, wow, it's been that long?
I think I would, not as a head coach, but he was there as a defensive coordinator under Jimbo.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
So I think it would be Elko. I think that would be a good 10 minutes.
Hey, no Kirby Smart love?
Kirby's boring. He's a great coach. He's not. Josh Heupel is not interesting at all. I don't have a lot of interest in talking to Alex Golish.
Yeah, like Summerall.
Shane Beamer, like, he's okay.
Definitely not Shane Beamer.
That's just not really floating my boat. John Summerall is a decent quote.
I'll get a drink with Summerall before I have a one-on-one with him.
But if we're talking, just sit down and have a comment. I think the questions I would ask, and based on his press conference history, Elko gives some pretty good answers. There are times where he gets testy with the media, like, he has a strong feeling. There's sometimes where he gives a thoughtful answer. He's an Ivy League guy. Like, he's smart, and I think I would like to talk to him. Also, he worked for Brian Kelly, which I could ask him.
Ooh, that is a good one. All right, so what if you got $1,000 for every World Cup player you can name? I'd be rich, boy.
Harry Kane.
Okay.
Mbappe.
All right. 2 bands.
We got the guy that got hurt for us. That's our best player. Pulisic.
Okay. 3.
Messi. Cristiano Ronaldo.
5.
Neymar.
Okay, 6. 6 bands? Not the U.S. best player. Well, Pulisic wasn't our best
the
player.
guy that got the card. I don't know his name. I got $6,000.
All right, 6 bands.
I got 6 players in the entire field.
Well,
that's pretty good. That's
pretty
better
good.
than I thought I would do.
To say you didn't know anything about what you didn't.
Well, I mean, we got Messi going nuts. Mbappe's like the best player, they say. Although apparently France has like 3 of those. I don't know any of the rest of them.
France got knocked out yesterday.
Yeah, I only know one player on our team, Pulisic. I don't know who our goalie is. I don't know any of that.
There's one player that I kind of wish you would have got.
Country?
Spain. He's going to be the future GOAT. He's young, super young.
No chance. I couldn't get it multiple choice.
Oh, Lamine Yamal. Remember that name?
Never heard
Lamine
him.
Yamal.
Never heard him 1 second in my entire life.
So, if Argentina meets Spain in the World Cup final, I'll do you this one better. Messi's his godfather. So there's a picture of.
I saw that on the internet today.
Yes, that's the kid.
I saw
the
that.
kid,
That's ridiculous.
Yes. Nothing's random in this world. Always remember that. Nothing is random.
Sometimes the world gets real small. People always say that it's a small world whenever I'm with people at a cocktail party or something. They go, well, oh, your aunt was such and such. Like, that's such a small world. No, it's a small state. And a lot of people in my orbit went to LSU.
Yeah,
so everybody went to LSU at one point. So everybody from Lake Charles and New Orleans and the North Shore and Monroe and Shreveport for 4 years just went to Baton Rouge and met a lot of people and then went back home. And then like we know people. It's a small state. But that is a small world if you go to that part.
So what if the Big Ten wins the national championship again?
Good.
Is there no questions that they're the best conference in football?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I don't think that producing the champion makes you the best conference.
Okay.
I think producing the most good teams. And I think the Big Ten has a very strong argument against the SEC. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, and Indiana have won the title the last few years.
Yes.
Obviously, Penn State can swing with the middle class. I'm not saying that they're a
no,
power,
they're not top dogs.
But I just knocked them down 3 rungs. So now you're not talking about Georgia and the SEC either. You're talking about the Tennessees and LSUs and Ole Misses of the world. I think Penn State can play with those teams. I think that once you get to like 8, 9, 10, the SEC is probably better in your Vanderbilt class and your
Arkansas can probably beat.
No, Arkansas is the bottom. You're talking about your Missouris.
Oh, those guys.
You're talking about those teams.
Florida,
South Carolina a couple years ago. LSU is in the middle. That's where you get to where they're better than the Minnesotas and the
Purdue.
Rutgers and Purdue and all that. But at the top like 6, the Big Ten can absolutely swing with the SEC. And I'll have to see it again. The deal with the SEC right now is Michigan had a couple down years there when Harbaugh left.
Yeah.
But Florida's not any good. LSU has fallen flat the last 2 years.
Yeah. Tennessee's really
Tennessee was in the playoff 2 years ago, but Auburn's bad. You've got some teams that have been really good
Bama come down to
that
earth.
aren't good anymore. Bama's at least in the playoff. But you've got some programs that have had historically good seasons. Florida, LSU, and Auburn were heavyweights in the 2000s and in the teens.
Yeah.
And they're not good right now. So that's a flag against the SEC. All the Big Ten teams that are supposed to be good are pretty good. I'm not going to put that pin on Wisconsin. They're not going to be in LSU's Florida's class. Sorry. So that's where the SEC comes up a little bit short. I think that's where they can make the biggest move upward. The Big Ten's move upward had to come with Indiana flying out of nowhere, which I don't know who could have called that coming.
Nobody seen that coming. So that's it for What If Wednesday.
All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. Jeff Goodman likes to talk. He likes to talk about LSU. I'll let you hear from him about LSU, and I'll give my rebuttal to that to close out hour 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power. GoTro's Outdoor Power. If you're looking for a zero-turn mower, you don't look any further. You just go to GoTro's Outdoor Power. 2 locations, one on Airline, one in Gonzales. You can also find them at GoTrosOnline.com. But they're family-owned and operated, 22 years in business in Baton Rouge and Gonzales. But when I say family-owned and operated by the GoTro family, I don't mean some little mom-and-pop shop around the corner. I mean, you're talking about the largest parts inventory in Louisiana. You're talking about the National Hustler Dealer of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. You're talking about an amazing family business that has grown and prospered and is a great resource for the people of South Louisiana. If you've got a new property, you've got a large property, you've got a mower that's on its last leg, and you want to get a new Hustler, there's not a better place to go than Gotro's Outdoor Power. They've got trucks on the road to deliver your parts. They've got trailers they can get to you if you need to get that that equipment delivered. It's great family business, and it's a great resource in South Louisiana. So if you're looking for a Hustler zero-turn mower, Gotro's Outdoor Power. You can find them at gotrosonline.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
It is really hot out there, y'all, and our friends at Auctioner want you to be aware that heat stroke is a very, very serious thing, and it's something that can be preventable. There are some symptoms once you get to that point that you need to be aware of. If your body temp reaches 103 or more, if you've got confusion, dizziness, or fainting, hot, red, dry, or damp skin, if you've got a rapid pulse, nausea, vomiting, if you experience any of those symptoms of heat stroke, go to the nearest emergency room or call 911. Try your best to stay hydrated. It's important year-round, but hydration plays a key role in how your body functions every single day. So avoid those peak hours. Stay hydrated. If you're out longer than an hour, add electrolytes. Aim for a 2-to-1 water to sports drink ratio, so make sure you're getting enough water in those low-sugar sports drinks if you're out for longer than an hour. That's all courtesy of our friends at Auctioner. This is something we've revisited a couple of times over the last couple of months, but Jeff Goodman, just like, he really does not like LSU's basketball coaching staff. And that's okay. He's got that right. But he just hammers it home constantly. And best I can tell, LSU has not broken any rules in pursuing players in this cycle for the 2026-2027 season. But Jeff Goodman's got huge beef with the way LSU's going about things. It's not just Will Wade he's talking about. Listen to Jeff Goodman on his podcast, Field of 68, talking about LSU's basketball program.
First, we're going to ask the biggest loser about the biggest loser in the SEC.
That would be LSU athletic director or president, whichever you want to pick. They're the biggest loser because they have to deal with the combination of a high maintenance football, men's basketball, women's basketball coach, and they're dealing with Rick Stansbury on staff at LSU, who's trying to come up with every loophole like he has to try to get guys eligible, Stansbury and Will Wade. So I'm saying it's not a specific coach or team. It is the leadership of Louisiana State University right now, and Shaq needs to step in. I think Shaq should be the new president of LSU. I think he should.
How elite would that be? How elite would that be?
But he's doing the GM duties. He's busy being the general manager.
Let him be. Let him be the AD. Let him be the president. Are you kidding me? Talk about a win.
Yeah, I'll say this with LSU: they could be the winner. They could be the loser. We'll see how this all shakes out. Obviously, his roster isn't done. The 25-year-old from Israel, Yam Madar, as of now, it looks like he's going to stay in Israel. But again, as I tweeted, you never know with Slick Rick Stansbury. You never count him out. The smart money is always on Slick Rick and has been. And we'll see if he can pull a rabbit out of his hat here with Yam, and some of the other guys they've gotten are older, international players. So I'm calling them a loser as of today. They don't really have a point guard yet. Also, if you look at their roster, they don't really have a point guard on their roster. But I just think how they've navigated this, the R.J. Lewis situation, Will Wade leaving NC State after 1 year. Will Wade is the loser to me right now.
So it's the president's a loser, the athletic director's a loser, the coach is a loser. Obviously, Slick Rick in a demeaning it's just piling on LSU. Whatever. I don't care what Jeff Goodman says. Pile on. I don't think anybody in Baton Rouge cares what Jeff Goodman says. But it just it seems like it's like a personal deal that he just really despises these guys. They're not committing crimes here. Will Wade ran afoul his last time. He ran afoul. There's no question about that. But going after European players in this cycle, it's doing what everybody else is doing. And look, R.J. Lewis isn't eligible right now. And Yamadar's not coming here. But you're now blaming the coaching staff for pursuing players for their basketball team. If you've got known impropriety in this cycle, Well, like, yeah, just call him out on that. But it seems so personal for Jeff Goodman to jump down the entire administration's throat in the middle of the summer for trying to put a team together. Again, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. This hasn't worked itself out yet with LSU basketball. We still have 6 weeks to get that to the finish line. There are some things going on behind the scenes that are not public, and I'm told that there's a significant confidence that this basketball team is going to round out into pretty strong shape, and that there will be point guard play, and that these are things that are going to come out in time. We're just not there yet. But the slick Rick thing, and then Will Wade's a loser, and then going on to the administration, it's a tired deal, and I get it. Like, Rick Stansberry is not the most endearing figure, and I get it. Will Wade is persona non grata everywhere because of the way the FBI wiretap thing went at LSU, and then he leaves NC State after a year. But again, that's not a crime either. Not a crime. And no, he didn't convict LSU of a crime there. It's such a condescending message about LSU basketball, which I guess, hey, look, no one was talking about LSU basketball the last 3 years ever. So maybe you take it as a positive in that perspective. But it just, I listened to that this morning and I went, goodness, man, can you talk about Kansas or something? It's a lot of vitriol to go nationwide and zero in on LSU for, as he called it, trying to go through loopholes. It's just trying to put a roster together. I will react to anything that it's an impropriety if that's revealed, but at this point it just sounds like the staff's hustling, which seems like a good thing to me, but not necessarily for Jeff Goodman. I'm sure, though, all those guys that are on Duke's roster and Kansas's roster and Kentucky's roster and North Carolina's roster were all done on the up and up. I'm sure that was completely without using any loopholes or running afoul of anything, right? Clearly. That's it for hour number one. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. We'll come back after National Headlines of Sports Center. We'll dive into Sam Levitt. Got some Saints talk in hour number two. Coming up.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com. FabryChevrolet.com is that website. Just check out the inventory. It is all there online at FabryChevrolet.com. They got such an interactive website. It's so user-friendly. You can chat with the salesperson there on the website, but if you're just looking to peruse and see what's in the inventory, I'd really like to look for the Silverados. Maybe I want a new one. Maybe I want a pre-owned. Let's just sort by Silverado, and you can look for all the trucks they've got right there. If you know that you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, just not in the market for a new one at this point, well, just search by pre-owned and see everything that they've got. Maybe at that point you realize what your price range is going to be. You realize maybe what type of mileage you're looking for. You can sort by those as well, and every single vehicle that meets your criteria is going to pop right there on the screen. It's just the part where you can start your buying experience, but I suggest you go up to Highway 61 in St. Francisville and check them out and see that great customer service firsthand. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC on Highway 61 in St. Francisville, and also the entire inventory on FabryChevrolet.com.